hypnotic dance. She holds me here with only a glance. She's over me. She's over me. All right, everybody, welcome to the Paranormal Portal Bedtime Stories From Beyond. I'm your host, Brent Thomas, and I'm absolutely thrilled you're here with me. Thank you all for being here. Happy day for sure, because it's another day of the portal, and I know that brings me all kinds of joy, so I hope you guys are feeling the love too. Thank you all for being here. Great to see the numbers just pile up all of a sudden as soon as we go live. It's just humbling. I remember when Don and I used to sit here like just gabbing, waiting to get like more than 3. And now it's just like, you guys just fly in the door, and it's just really cool. It's just, I mean, seriously, it's a humbling experience for sure. So we are underway here, I guess, for the most part. I hope you're having a great weekend. I know it's Sunday. Again, do that Monday mantra. It's going to be a beautiful day tomorrow. It was actually a beautiful day here today. It's kind of gotten like instantly fall temperatures, but today was a little warmer again, so it was kind of nice. Not that I ended up going out in it too much, but I felt it at the end of the day, I guess. So I got that going for me. But anyway, I hope you all are ready, because it's... time for bed. I hit the button before I finished it. See what kind of nerves I'm dealing with? I just can't wait to go. Hello, everybody that's here. It's good to see you all. Excellent to see all the people coming in. Let me just see who's here. Let's go through the list. We got Beth Fierce here. Brian Gasca here. Cameron, how you doing? Cha-Cha. Cherry, how you doing? Good to see you. Deb, good to see you, Deb. L, good to see you. Lisa, Lori, Lewis, all the L's are represented. Good to see all 3 of you. Lewis is here. I already said Lewis. That's the second time I said it. But you can never say Lewis too much. MCAT, good to see you, brother. We got to talk. I hope we got to reach out sometime in the near future. So if you get a chance, message me and we'll touch base. Mary, good to see you, Mary. Mogion, good to see you. Real Deal is here, and Tesla Tech, and of course I'm here, and I guess that's a full boat. So hope you all are ready, because it is time for bed. The bedtime stories is about to start. I got some great stories pulled up for you, but if you need to be able to call in, you can certainly do that. The number is 720-923-0500. Again, 720-923-0500, and it's right up there. Right up there if you ever get lost and figure, oh, I was going to call in. What's that number again? There it is, right there. So call in and definitely be a part of the show. I always love it when you guys touch base and call in with me. Share something that you've experienced or seen. That's always the highlight of my existence here on the portal, for sure. That and emails, of course. I love both of those. So I got some stories pulled up for you guys. I hope you guys will enjoy them. I haven't read them in advance, so we're going to see what they are together. And wouldn't you know it, the first story... Oh, my music's playing in the other room. I was like, what's that sound? I figured it out. But yeah, last night, if you watched the show last night, now I got one of those Alexas, the Amazon Alexas, and never done any of that weird stuff that you hear about ever. I mean, it just, the only problem I have with the Alexa is that sometimes it just drops its connection. And I don't know why, because it's literally like 5 feet away from my router. So it shouldn't do that. I mean, it should stay connected. I know some people say, oh, the thing's listening to you all the time. Well, I mean, I'm incredibly boring. So I'm, if if Amazon or Big Brother have nothing better to do than listen to me, make toast or something, then I guess they're if they really need to. I don't like it, but I'm certainly not going to curb my purchases based on the fact that they could or could not be listening. But anyway, last night during the show, we were doing the broadcast, and all of a sudden, we left the door open because the house is really quiet right now. And my Alexa goes off all by itself. It's talking to nobody out there in the kitchen. Now, it has never done that. Never, ever done that. So that was a new one. And I think it was a little weird. I don't know. I mean, those things are quirky, and maybe it's just some kind of weirdness. But on the other hand, maybe it's not. Maybe it's something like paranormal weirdness. I don't know. There's been some weird stuff happening around the home here, but nothing scary, nothing over the top, but just like someone's seems to be making sure I know that they're here. I'm smelling cigarette smoke in my house, and I don't smoke. Nobody here smokes. So I don't know why the windows are shut. There shouldn't be cigarette smoke in my house, but I've been smelling it. So along with, now the Alexa going off. So we'll see what's next. I don't know. Very strange stuff. We had a great show last night with Dan Pruitt going over the Coloma investigation that we did over in Coloma, Montana. That was really cool, and special thanks again to Duke for inviting us over there for that. We even revealed some new proof, new evidence on the show last night. We hadn't had a chance to go through. Hadn't had a chance to go through the full spectrum images that Dan had taken, nor had we gone through the FLIR images that we took, and we went through those on the show last night and found what could very well be some pretty potential anomalies. So if you haven't seen last night's show, definitely check it out. It gives you a good kind of background into what happened, what we went through as we were up there. And hopefully, my idea was let's have Dan on and we could just cover it in one show rather than bits here and there or when I think of something. So we just did a whole show on it. It was a great show. It was a lot of fun, and you guys were wonderful, and thank you all for participating and being here for that, those of you that were. So anyway, let's get to some stories, and the first story tonight is coming out of Ohio. Of course it's coming out of Ohio. That's where weird stuff seems to originate, is Ohio. I don't know why that is, but let's see. Here we go. Here's a story that happened in my uncle's house, and they lived in the house for a really long time, and the little boy has been there longer. There's a little boy that died in that house a couple of years ago, so my cousin Chase and his older brother Andy had to sleep in the room that the little boy had died. One night, Chase couldn't sleep, so he heard the little boy say, "Chase, come and play with me." That's creepy. He was so scared that he actually had to wake up his brother and tell him what happened. Then my uncle told me and my parents the story on Halloween, and he said that they called the little boy Tony since they don't really know who he is or how he died. So when he was telling us, you could hear a door open and close when everybody was downstairs. They just said that it was Tony. Well, I was so scared that I went on the ground with their dog Kelly, and she actually got closer to me since she knew I was scared. Then Matt, my uncle, told us that when he and Shelley, his wife, and my aunt were downstairs and Chase and Andy were sleeping, they heard the little boy say that he wanted to go to bed too. So then they understood that the little boy was still looking for his parents that must have died when he was home. So the next morning they told Chase and Andy to go into another room and to never go into that room unless they know about it. I don't know what that sentence means. Never go into that room unless he tells the parents, I guess. Telling the mother and father that they're going into that room. So we went over there on Christmas, and Andy said that Chase and he were going to talk to the little boy. I told my parents, and they thought that I was just kidding around, but then they actually went, "Rachel, be careful." So when we went up there, Kelly went up there too, and I went on the top bunk, and Chase went on the bottom, and Andy lied down on Kelly. So the first thing that happened was that Kelly started to bark at the toy box next to the closet. The lid actually opened up and was set on the ground. It actually happened. And then Tony said that he wanted to play. even though there was no one else in the room. Chase and Andy wanted to get out of the room, but I said that they're chickens, so they just stayed in the room. So then we asked where he was, but he just said he wanted to go downstairs. I'm starting to think that since my parents and I went over to their house so much, the little boy actually started coming to the condo. Sometimes he's not here. Sometimes he comes and visits, and I think that I was 5 or 6. I think I should have put that first, so that's pretty much what I found out about the little boy in both houses. If I knew any more about the little boy, I would have added it. Sorry. Okay. Well, that's interesting. I don't know. Very, very... Either it's incredible activity or there's an incredible imagination at work there, and that's possible. Not everybody's got a good memory or is factual in their memories, or some people just embellish a whole lot. It's hard to know when we're reading these. They are represented as true stories, so I'm only giving you what I can read here on the page. So next one is coming from California. So let's see what's going on there. One day in late October, I invited my friends to come to a haunted house that we knew of across the street. So we had my mom drive us there, and she wanted to stay in the car because she was too afraid. So we walked in with flashlights and looked over everything, and we saw torn furniture, broken windows, and a black cat that we constantly heard meowing. Well, we were all gathered in one circle, standing up in the living room. At least we thought that it was in the living room, and I was the first one to say something, and I said, "If there's any ghost or a person who used to live here, please give us a sign of your presence." Within a minute, we heard a ball start bouncing. Well, we all screamed and ran to the door. Unfortunately, this house was a huge house, and we traveled far to get to where we were started talking to the ghost, and we were all running around the house not knowing where we were going. And I finally told all of them to stop and figure it out. We were all silent until we heard the ball bounce again, and luckily we found the door to the right of us, and we ran out screaming like crazy lunatics. And that really scared my mom. Once we were in the car, we looked back at the house and vowed never to go there again. It's kind of fitting moving into the Halloween season, right? Actually, Dan messaged me about a potential abandoned hospital here in our area that we may be able to... that we're going to look into doing another live investigation there. So pretty exciting stuff. And that's really bizarre. That would be pretty intense. I'm not big on hospitals anyway, but just because I've been in them a lot. Just had a bunch of injuries through my years. So, but they're usually very active places. So the next one is coming from New York. Got the Flight of the Valkyries, is that? Jeez, I'm sorry. I didn't realize it was that loud. I should have shut it off before the show. I don't know if you guys are hearing it, but it's coming in through the door there. So, all right. So this one's coming out of New York. Some strange things have been going on in my house, and it all started one day about a year ago. And this was back when me and my sister were still in high school. My mom usually gets home from work at about 8:30 in the morning, and on this particular day, she was late. So my sister and I were already at school, and she was walking into the house through the garage, and she heard the dial-up sound from our computer for the internet. Oh, they had dial-up. I remember that sound. I used to love that sound. It's like, yes, I'm getting on the web. This has happened about 5 times since then. And one of the times I was sitting right across the room. Yeah, now that was strange, but this is even weirder. One day about a month ago, I was sitting at the computer. My whole family was home. My dad, my mom, and sister. And when I looked down to the end of the hallway near my parents' room, I saw my dad standing there. And after standing there for about a minute, he turned and walked into my room, which is diagonal from theirs. Being a teenage girl, I got up and ran to my room, getting ready to yell at my dad for being in there. And when I got to my room and looked around, nobody was in there. Immediately, I went into my sister's room, which is across from mine, and looked in there for him, but no, he was nowhere to be found. So, trying to figure everything out, I went into my parents' room. My mom was lying in bed, and I asked her where Dad was, and she said that he had been in the shower for about 10 minutes. As I walked further into their room, I heard the water running. Huh. That's the whole story. So, that is creepy to see an apparition like that. I don't know if that's a case of a mimicry where it's being a doppelganger, or if it just was a male silhouette, so she figured it was her father. I don't know. Very strange, though. I've not seen that, and I'm pretty good with never seeing that, I think. Unless I'm investigating it. Then, of course, you want to see stuff, but not in my own home. I've only seen an apparition once, and that was of a woman, and it was, pretty quick. Just walked right by. I was sleeping on a couch, and just walked right by me and went into the kitchen, but the light never came on. So I got up and went, why isn't the light turned on? What's going on? So I got up and went in there, and nobody was there. So pretty creepy, but it was like the person was wearing like a nightgown, like a white nightgown. It was a adult woman. So very strange occurrence, but I did witness that. Okay, so this one is coming from California again. So this is interesting. I don't know what this is. Okay, so it says this one's actually pretty. He even dated it. Sunday, June 22nd, 2008. My mother has a dear friend whose daughter got married. The daughter's name was Marie, and Marie got married to an FBI agent, and part of his job entailed for them to move a lot and live in corporate housing. Basically, this meant no pets. So my mom kind of inherited Marie's 2 cats. The 2 cats, a Siamese, Katie, and a Russian blue, which was named Bear, instantly became members of our family and integrated into our existing pets' lives really well. Over the years, Bear was starting to lose his eyesight, but his ears were so keen you'd never know it. On Sunday, my mom was washing her face, and when she came out, she was going to let the other pets outside. However, she noticed Bear perched under the grand piano as he normally presides, and she called him to come to her so she could let Bear out and with the other cats outside. The other cat kept meowing and acting as if she wanted to go outside. When my mom opened the front double doors of the house, she found Bear's lifeless body laying down near the door on the outside of the house. He had died very recently since he was still warm, but no heartbeat. It was strange that he had died outside of the house, even though she had seen him inside clear as day under the piano moments before. It was almost as if he was saying goodbye to her via his spirit, even after his death on the outside of the front door. This past Sunday, June 22nd, 2008, Bear passed away. He was 17 years old and lived a really long and pampered life. He brought nothing but happiness, joy, and love to our family, and we will miss him tremendously. I'm thankful and grateful that Bear died on my mom's property and not anywhere else where we would have been left wondering if he was hit by a car or not knowing why he went missing. And even in death, he came back to us to say his final goodbye. Well, that's cool. That's actually a beautiful story. I mean, of course, losing a pet is really, really tough, but I don't know if you saw it right there and then you found the body afterwards. I would think, wow, that was a really clear farewell. I'm doing fine. See ya. I think that, I don't know. I'm not an expert on any of this stuff, and I'm certainly not an expert on death or anything, but I think that part of the sorrow is just the unknown, that people we love are on this journey that we can't possibly understand. We just don't know what's going on, what happened to them. I think we're afraid for them, and we're afraid for ourselves. We're reminded of our own mortality, but to have a visitation, I think, is so profoundly powerful and so healing that it would maybe make it a joyous event, because in that one moment, that the body is just a vehicle. I mean, this, we equate so much with what we are, this is us, but it's not. This is just our car, our mode of operating in this world. And so when our mode of operating in this world ends, we just have this fear of finality with it. So I think these apparitions following a death are incredibly powerful. And as I've stated many times, I've met dear relatives that have departed in my life, in my dreams, and it's been incredibly powerful experiences. Really cool. Sorry, I just I got a headache, so I had to take care of that. But I think that's really powerful. So the next one's coming from Kansas, and this is a kind of a momentous occasion because we really never see stories from Kansas come across. So this is pretty cool. I'm just checking the board, make sure I'm not missing anything. Everything good in chat? You guys doing good? All right, so let's go to Kansas and find out what's going on here. Amen, Brent. Well said. Oh, thanks, Al. I appreciate that. Oh, hi, Robert Edgington. Good to see you. You can just call me Brent. Portal's the show. I'm Brent. I'm just kidding. I'm just being a smart aleck. Sorry, brother. Good to see you, though. Thanks for coming in. Oh, Isaac, yeah. Isaac, I got your message, and I got it forwarded to Don. So thank you for sending that in so we can get that taken care of for you. And congratulations to all the winners of the giveaways. Thank you so much for participating. That was really cool. All right, so Kansas. My story occurred over the length of my childhood, beginning when I was 4 years old. I woke up one night and went to my bathroom, and I returned to my room and got back in bed, and I became aware of a presence in the hallway just outside my door. As I was only 4 years old and scared to death, I pulled the covers up over my head and told the presence to go away. I can't recall if I actually heard a voice or not, disembodied, or if it was just able to sense it, but the being said that it would go, but it would return. 4 years went by and no other activity was noted until the night when the experience repeated itself, with an identical response from both me and the ghost. Again, I had gotten up before the occurrence, and I'm positive that I was awake when it occurred. Fast forward again to my early teen years, I had become involved with a group called the Inner Peace Movement, which on the local level in my town was a group of folks who met every Friday night in a private residence to hold spiritual development sessions. And there was a youth group, mostly the children and the adult couples, that met upstairs and that held meetings in the basement. Oh, okay, the children's group held their meetings in the basement. Got it. The basic tenets of the group were that we were all have the ability to get in touch with our ESP gifts or extrasensory gifts, and that one could practice developing them with exercises and by paying attention to one's relationship with the spiritual realm beyond our normal range of sensation. The woman, Helen M., who ran the local group and who hosted the meeting, was sensitive and who would give readings, and she sat me down in a comfortable chair and provided me with some tract literature to read. And while she sat across from me, she achieved a trance state, and after about 20 minutes she awoke, and we recapped her assessment, and all of this was written out on our assessment form that was pre-printed and had spaces for individual comments. I still have this to this day, and one piece of paper had an explanation for the various types of perception, prophetic, feeling, intuitive, and visionary, as well as the order that I relied on these skills in my daily life. On another paper was a diagram showing the number of guardian angels a person had. These were folks who had evolved enough through reincarnation to avoid rebirth. They then elected to function in the spiritual realm as individual guardian angels for those who were living. I had 5, whose last incarnations were a Roman charioteer, a Roman senator, a forest woman who lived amongst the animals and had herbalist skills, a privateer, pirate, and a British mathematician. Now these sound more like guides than guardian angels, but I guess it's all semantics, whatever. I do think guardian angels are a different kind of thing altogether, but that's how they're identifying them here, so that's fine. She dropped the bomb. Sorry. She said, "You have another spirit attached to you that is between realms. Do you have a male relative that died in a fire or an explosion? My granddaddy, Clyde Radenbaugh, had died years before my birth during an explosion at the Kansas Power and Light plant in Topeka. He had gotten out safely during an evacuation of the plant, but had gone back in to rescue someone left behind when the plant was ripped apart by a gas explosion. I'd never met him and had no living grandfathers. He had been married to my favorite grandmother, and I had always been curious about him. Helen explained that folks who have died in an accident, violent or sudden, may have not been aware that they were indeed passed on, and that they could become entangled in the environment in which their deaths had occurred, or caught up in the emotional needs of their survivors. We planned a very simple ceremony to contact Clyde's spirit, to thank him for his concern, and to give him permission to cross over to the light. I've never felt or heard from him again, but it has provided me with personal proof of the afterlife. I hope when it's my time to cross over, he will be amongst those who will welcome me into the light. That's kind of a beautiful thing, right? I don't know. It's funny because there's so many explanations out there for what these other beings are, and I guess I agree that they, a lot of times they may be people that have been through a series of reincarnation already. They may be other aspects of ourselves that were incarnated in other timelines, and they act as guides to us in this one. I don't know. It's hard to know. It's hard to understand all of the dynamics, all of the possibilities. I do believe there are guardian angels. Whether they are, as the Bible would suggest, or whether there's something else, I don't know. I don't pretend to know, and I'm not qualified to know, but there are these dynamic beings that seem to very directly intervene in our world from time to time in these miraculous divine interventions to help people out. But I don't know. I think, of course, we want to understand what's going on in this other world, but it sounds like there's more going on in the next world than there is in this world. And if you don't know everything that's going on in this world, there's no hope of understanding what's going on in the next world. And we can't know everything that's going on in this world. There's just too many things going on. There's too many variables at work to understand everything that's going on in our world. But I think the next world is even more complicated, with all of the different things, and many things which were never human, which have never been incarnated as a human, but they are essential parts of the multitudinous facets of the next world, I guess. I don't know how else to try to encompass that in words that might make sense, but I'm not even sure that made any sense, but it did in my head, for what it's worth. So it's hard to know what are we dealing with these guides and guardian angels and all of these other things. What are they? Why are they here sometimes? Why are they not here all the time? Or why are we unable to perceive them more clearly? But I think that has a lot to do with our personal development, and I believe that last story was very accurate, that you do have to train these things like a muscle. I mean, we didn't just come out of the womb able to perceive and interact with our world easily. It took years of learning how to move our limbs and how to, even right off the bat, most of us couldn't focus our eyes on anything. It took, weeks to be able to focus in and follow movement, just something simple like that, which now we take for granted. But, of course, these other abilities are not nurtured in our Western environment, and pretty much in the global culture. There's very few parts of the world that actually try to nurture these more esoteric parts of ourselves and help us, develop those. But I think some of us do it just through life. Life can just be so hard that we have nowhere else to look but in, because looking out has just been a confusing mess. So some people figure it out on their own. Some people find groups that can help them. But I would never get wrapped up too much in the semantics of whatever, you're following, because it's just words. It's just words. There is a truth, and whatever that truth is, I guess what its actual reality is, who knows? Well, we have lots of descriptions for it here. So anyway, I'll get off the soapbox. Sorry. I always like to just jump up there and tell it like I think it is. But it's, not necessarily the scope of the show, to try to make sense of everything. But I hope you guys don't mind. Call in and join the show. 720-923-0500. Good job, Duke. Thank you. Duke's representing up there. Thank you, brother. All right, so we're going to go to Ohio again. Surprise. I don't know what it is with Ohio, ladies and gentlemen, but I'm always shocked at how much it comes in so many facets of the paranormal. It's just crazy. So first off, Ohio. I'd like to state that, no, I'm not going to read all that fluffy crap. Blah, 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 blah. All right. Oh, I don't think I want to read this. No, you know what, I will, because it does deal with EVPs. This is one that was submitted by a researcher, but I don't think it's too clinical, and it may hold some really great... no. I don't know. If looks like there at one time was some sound files included with that, which are long since no longer linked directly to this article. So the reason that we do EVP work is curiosity about life after death. I have some theories that I've developed over time derived from my EVP evidence, and I won't bore you with that. I just want to listen. I want you to listen to an EVP. Well, I guess we can't because it's not included here. So if the whole reason they submitted the article was around an EVP that we can't hear, it's kind of a waste of time. So I'll skip that one. And the next one, which is the same person. All right, here's an actual story. All right. This one is coming from South Carolina. Now, I'm not very new to the supernatural. I've been having paranormal happen to me throughout my whole life. But when I was little, I used to have a companion that I referred to as the old man. It really scared my mom pretty bad when I would begin to just talk to him because she couldn't see him. And from what I remember, he was a grandfather that had died, but that isn't the story I'm telling today. My mom divorced my dad when I was about 10 or 11, and we all just left our rental property, and my mom and I moved into a condo near school, and we got a dog, and that was the agreement I gave her. If we moved, I had to have a dog, so we got a beagle mixed and named her Holly. No, it wasn't Christmas time either. I just seemed to like a good name. So we took her home, and everything was fine for a while at least. We'd been living in the condo for about 2 weeks before we got the dog, and Mom had let me do most of the painting and stuff, so she was usually reading or something while I worked. I like doing the flooring and the painting, so it wasn't really a big deal. But I started getting the feeling someone was watching me. I'd shut the doors and cabinets just so I could work, and I'd hear scratching sounds behind me. And only when my mom left for work did the things get weirder. Things would go missing and turn up in completely different places, like a paint roller ending up in the toilet bowl. I would ignore these kind of things because they weren't really that bad, but then things got really weird. My radio would turn off and I'd turn it back on, only to find that as soon as I turned around, it would shut back off. The painter's tape would disappear off the walls and be balled up in the corner of another room. Oh, that's terrible. I got creeped out, but I didn't tell my mom. When we got the dog, I figured whatever was bugging me would just leave me alone, and it did, but it turned abusive towards my dog. Holly would be sitting on the floor and suddenly yelp. She watched things that weren't there, pace around the room, and one time I touched her while she was watching something, and she gave sort of a half growl, half whimper. I remember that she'd suddenly have a collar visibly pulled, and she had a choke chain on for training, and she was dragged to her cage where she was locked in. I got fed up with this and told whatever it was to leave the dog alone, and it did. I just figured I was done with it, but after a few weeks I started seeing shadowy figures walking around the place. I'd hear tapping sounds from other rooms. Mind you, even though the walls between my neighbors and I is soundproof, I would hear voices whispering. The constant feeling of being watched came back and stayed, no matter how many times I would shut things. My hair would get pulled when I was watching TV. My cell phone would constantly end up in the refrigerator and on my bedroom door, and my bedroom door got in the habit of locking itself. Soon there'd be scratches at my door and knocking sounds come from my closet, snickering sounds that came from the area around my nightstand. My homework would be thrown around the room when I woke up in the morning. And then it just got scary. I'd get the feeling of weight on my chest and my sheet would get pulled off of the bed, even if I held on to it. When I stayed up late on the computer, I'd catch a glimpse of only what I can describe as an impish figure bobbing around. One night my door opened and shut, and I looked out from under the sheet to see what was there. The imp thing was staring at the bed from a distance of about 3 feet. I swear it had almost reddish hue, but I can't quite be sure, and I guess it was about 4 feet tall standing up, but it looked hunched over by age. I just suppose it had a pointy hat on. As ridiculous as that may sound, it simply walked over to the foot of the bed and started pulling at my sheets. I held on, but it was strong and started making hissing and spitting sounds. And then I felt the sensation of hitting on my legs, and it was painful. And when it stopped, I basically curled up in a ball to sleep. Jesus, that's terrible. Now, it could have simply played that night off as a bad dream, but I had bruises on my legs when I woke up, and furthermore, a chair by my desk was kicked over and my homework was scattered. I still get the feeling I'm being watched sometimes, but ever since we got the new neighbors, the occurrences have subsided, and I'm guessing whatever it is likes to haunt the newest residents, so I wasn't all that surprised when the people moved out, complaining of bad soundproofing, but the truth is the soundproofing was brand new on their unit. When the next people moved in, I tried to give them a hint, and they laughed it off. They moved out fast as well. In the end, the newest neighbors are hardly ever home. If you know what it is, please tell me. I'm curious as to why it doesn't just stay in one unit. Until next time. Well, there is the idea that there are these impish little creatures. Some people believe that they work with a higher potency of evil or darkness. Imps are legendarily known to be tied to demons as their minions or I don't know, like subordinates. I've heard stories of people first seeing imps and later on having to deal with a full-fledged demon after the imp infestation got nasty and things got worse and worse and worse, that eventually it seemed as though in some of those cases that the imps were actually calling to the demon to come, to make it come into a space. I don't know if that's true or not. I don't know, but these are just things that are reported. I mean, it stands to reason there's stories of these kind of things through millennia, of time, of recorded history or folklores. People have recorded that, minions precede demons, and maybe that's true. Maybe they are one, and, maybe they are somehow involved with each other. But pretty, scary stuff. I think anytime you're hearing growling and almost animalistic, diabolical intelligences, you got to be really, really, really careful, because those are not things to toy with at all. Especially if they are indeed attached to a presiding demonic force, then you don't want to let an imp infestation continue in order to bring about a demonic presence. Just a thought, but be careful. All right, how far are we into this? Feels like I've been talking a while, but I guess it's only been talking 40 minutes. Not too bad. So let's go to California on the next story, ladies and gentlemen. See what's going on there. There's a cemetery across the street from where I live, and it's said to have at least 150 gravestones. Sounds big. I know. So a few nights ago, I just finished watching the movie Now and Then, and I saw the part where the girls walked to the graveyard and tried to speak with the dead, and I thought it might be fun to just take a walk through the graveyard and just look around. Boy, was that a bad idea. It says, boy, was that a bad idea. As my two friends and I entered the graveyard, the first thing we noticed was that the hairs on our arms were sticking straight up, and that cold, chilly feeling ran throughout our bodies. And after looking at least 2 gravestones together, we all thought that we heard a moan come from behind a big gravestone about 10 feet away from us. We stopped and just looked at everything around us, and we couldn't quite put our finger on what that noise exactly sounded like, but we were sure that it sounded like a woman moaning. My friend Erin was the first to speak up, and she looked at me and said, "Mickey, what's that sound?" I responded, "The sound is a woman moaning, Erin." And we both laughed and then noticed something that almost paralyzed us. My friend Ricky was gone. Erin and I started freaking out and called his name, but about 10 times, and we heard the moaning again behind the big gravestone and hoped that we would find him behind it. Well, we didn't find him. He was gone. I'll look later. I'll look, Beth, just a moment. We almost started crying when we heard his voice behind us say, "Don't turn around, don't turn around." Erin and I weren't that stupid. We turned around and slapped Ricky until he cried mercy. This wasn't the time to be messing about, and it started getting even more frightening because we heard the moan again, but louder. This was enough for us. We had to look behind every gravestone that was in front of us, and Ricky thought of something smart for once. Since it was pitch dark, he pulled out his camera and took photos of every gravestone so that we could see it with the light. By this time, the moaning had stopped and we were calm. Erin and I locked arms and walked as Ricky took shots, and after every gravestone near us had been photographed, we looked through them all. Nothing made us satisfied until we came to the last picture. What we saw frightened all of us a lot. In the picture of one of the gravestones, we saw a ghastly figure. It didn't have an exact shape, but we saw the head and the chest, and we knew this was the ghost that we had heard moaning behind one of the gravestones, because this figure looked like it had hair. So it was in fact a woman moaning. That night we walked home. We were very surprised and impressed by what we found. We showed my mom the pictures, and without a second thought, she knew that this was a ghost. So as I'm writing this story now, I can't help but think of what we saw that night. And still to this day, I feel like the hairs on my arms are standing up. Wow. Yeah, graveyards tend to have some kind of energies attached to them. Let's see. Let me refresh the mailbag and see if I got something. If there's any mail from Minnesota. Are you talking email, Beth? Because I don't see. Let's see. I don't see anything. Nope, doesn't look like it. Am I expecting some mail from Minnesota? Or are you talking like Facebook or something? I don't know. Very hard to say. But let me know, Beth. I don't know what you're talking about. Yes, from Tesla. Is it in the... Oh. Let me look. If I did get mail regarding the show, I always save it for a network night so then we read them. But let me look here and see. Sorry. Just going through the clicks. Dun, 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 dun. There's the one from Isaac. I don't know. When would I have received it? I don't know. I get so many mails anymore. I got a whole bucket full of them that I click through. Oh. Is this it? No. Wait, is that it? Oh, no, that's not it. Okay. I'm just clicking through the mails quick to see if I can figure out who it was. Maybe it was in the mail. I remember getting something from Tesla. Hold on a second. I'm going to expand this. Is it something that he wants read right now? I mean, if you want me to read it, I sure can. I got one from Sage. This is MCATs. That's some great stuff there too. Nope. I'll have to look for it. I didn't have anything pulled up and ready for the show today, guys. These bedtime stories are just quicker format shows. But did I think it was last week? Okay. Yeah, I mean, is it something you wanted me to read now, Tesla? On the next available show, or do you mind if I save it for like on Friday night? Because I normally read emails that come in on Friday night, and I get all the emails pulled up. But if you want me to read it tonight, I can look for it. You have to let me know. Just wondering if it's up soon. Not going to be listening for the next couple of days, which is okay, brother, because I wouldn't read it until Friday anyway. But I'll make sure it's ready for Friday's show if you can be here. Does that sound good? Sorry, ladies and gentlemen. Because I always like to save the emails for when we're on the network shows, because we do the network shows. Or I can just save it for when you are here for sure. But I always save the emails for the network shows, which are Friday and Saturday nights. When we do those 2-hour shows, we're on the network, which means that we're not only on YouTube broadcasting, but we're also on tfrlive.com, and we're also on iHeart, TuneIn, and TalkStream Live as well. So it just gets the most exposure on those nights. But if Friday's fine, okay. Okay, well, I'll make sure we get to it on Friday then, brother. So just tune in then, and we'll cover it. Okay. No, it's all right. I don't mind. If you guys want to check on something, that's fine. Interrupt me all the time. It's okay. This is a family show. This is the portal's a discussion, and sometimes the discussions just take on their own life. Okay, perfect. So Friday will be perfect then. Okay. All right, let's do this. Let's continue on. And I got to remember where it is too. I'm not the most organized person either. So, that was that one. We've read that one. So let's continue on. The next one is from California again. California is a pretty popular state tonight. I got to say they're kind of competing with Ohio for the most weirdness. Says, I was 11 years old when my dad took me to his work to see what he does for a living. Well, he works at, this would be kind of cool. He works at Universal Studios, which I always thought was a fun place to go. As we were looking at all the stages where movies and commercials and shows were made, he asked me something that sort of made me a little uneasy. Remember that this was back when I was 11 and I didn't really have interests in spirits, and he asked me if I know what a ghost is, and I said, yeah. So he could show me whatever he was planning on showing me. He sprung up and said, great. As we were riding in his golf cart, he took me to his building to get the keys, and he's a locksmith, so it was fun to see his office where he had keys and locks for everywhere. And one of his partners in his office is named Jim, and he was a very nice man, and he really knew how to start up conversations. And he asked me what I was going to do with my dad today. I told him we're going to go see the stages. My dad popped his head out of his little room where he does research on the computer and said that we're going to go to stage 28. Stage 28, Jim said. Are you sure that you want to go there? I've heard it was a haunted stage. Well, if you don't know, then I will tell you what it is. Stage 28 is where they filmed The Phantom of the Opera, the old movie. Now, I forgot who played in The Phantom, but he died shortly after the movie was released, and he comes to haunt that stage. Suddenly my eyes were bugged out. I could say nothing more, for my dad said that it was time to go. I sat back down into the golf cart, staring at my dad still bug-eyed. Oh, come on, this'll be fun, he said to try to get me to comfort. But nothing helped. I was truly scared, out of my mind. And right when things got a little better, we arrived at stage 28. It was locked, so I figured that when we went into my dad's building, we got the keys to unlock it. The door slid open, and the first thing that I saw was the setting of where they shot Masquerade. It looked like it had not been touched in 20 years. We walked in and turned on all the lights, and to my surprise, it really seemed kind of welcoming in an odd way. My dad and I stood in the middle of the set and looked around at everything, and my dad opened his mouth to say something when we heard a speaker go off in the room. It sounded like someone mumbling, and I got scared a lot. I yelled at my dad, saying that he did this on purpose, and that he hired Jim to say that stuff about this, and he had a recording up in the booth upstairs and played it. He laughed and said that he promises he didn't. He offered to look up in the booth to see if anyone was up there, and to my very surprise, no one was there, and it was pitch black. Suddenly, I felt this pinch on my back, and I yelped. This frightened my dad, for he grabbed me and carried me down, and I didn't get all of the drama of him carrying me down, but it felt good. As we entered the set floor again, he suggested that we leave. I sure was on the same page as him, because when we started walking out, I quickly looked back, and in one of the parts where people could sit down in the set, I saw a white mask floating in the blackness. This was my first encounter with a ghost, and now every once in a while, I always drive back up to his work to take notes on what I saw. That's pretty cool. That'd be cool to have a parent that worked at Universal Studios and to go check it out. I think that stuff is so awesome. I love set design. I really want to do something extraordinary with the back of the studio wall here, and really set it up really amazingly. I mean, it's not bad now. It's something, but in my head, I got this whole other vision for what I want to go on back here, but I don't know. I haven't come up with a real design yet, but I'm working on it. In my head, I'm working on it. So, but that's all part of the fun of doing a show like this, I guess, is to be able to kind of have a little piece of Halloween all year round. And I like Halloween season because then I can get new decorations and stuff for the show. So that's always a win. Where are we at with time now? Let me see. All right. We are at 52 minutes. Let me see if the next one's pretty short. That's not very short. Let me try another one. That's not very short either. Are they both the same voice? Oh, no. Both ours. Is this one short? Nope. trying to find a little short one, but let's see. If I can just pull up one little short one, that'll be it. Nope, they're all long tonight, ladies and gentlemen. So, but make sure to pay attention to our podcast, ladies and gentlemen. Tomorrow, of course, we'll be releasing a new episode on our podcast platform, which is thanks to Revolver Podcasts. We'll be putting out some kind of ghost podcast tomorrow, and ladies and gentlemen, again, I'm going to break this down because I think some people are confused about what a podcast is versus what a YouTube channel is versus internet radio. So the Paranormal Portal, when I'm doing them on YouTube every day except for Friday and Saturday, it's just a YouTube channel. These are just live broadcasts to you through the YouTube platform. Now on Friday, Saturday, as I mentioned before, we're plugged into the internet radio station as well. So we're not only broadcasting on YouTube, but we're also broadcasting on TFR Live, iHeart, TuneIn, and TalkStream Live. So it's a much bigger audience that hears us on Friday, Saturday nights for those 2-hour shows. Now, we also do a podcast, which is an entirely different thing. It's an audio-only presentation, but those you have to you can go to iHeart and look in their podcast selections for the Paranormal Portal. You can go to Spotify into their podcasts, search for the Paranormal Portal. You can go to Pandora and do the same thing, but or any other podcasting platform. Now, podcasting platforms are a little different, although iHeart does both. iTunes does both as well. But we are on iTunes, iHeart, Pandora, Spotify, and a bunch of other ones. I mean, just a bunch. Let me just tell you just a handful of the other platforms for podcasting that we're on, if you guys don't mind. Because I want to make sure you understand, because I get a lot of comments about our podcast, but I think most of the time people are referring to our YouTube channel and thinking that's a podcast. So the other platforms we're on, iHeart, Pandora, CastBox. Let's see, let me click this and get a whole big list, because there's a huge list where you can find podcasts from, and I just want you guys to know what the difference is, because I think people are transposing that. Safari, Android download, Chrome, Apple Watch, OK, HTTP, Podcast Addict, iTunes, Overcast, Podbean, Pocket Casts, Delvik, Himalaya. There's Podcoin, Firefox Podcasts, Internet Explorer, Podkicker. So that's just the first page, and there's 2 other pages. So if you're looking for podcast presentations, they're not a YouTube channel. They are an audio-only channel in their traditional form. Although the Joe Rogan podcast does a film aspect to it too, which they show on YouTube, but that's not necessarily the same thing. That's 2 productions based on the same core. So, but yeah, I hope you guys will check out our podcast on some of those platforms. And if you like what you're hearing, and I hope you will, definitely leave us a good review. I hope you will, especially on iTunes, because iTunes is kind of the gold standard for podcasts. So if you get good comments on good reviews on iTunes, it really helps your standing, and it helps you get more exposure. So that's definitely what we're gearing towards. And if you don't like it, I mean, you could leave a crappy review, I guess, too. But I hope you won't. So, but we're definitely doing a lot of great things with the podcast. We're getting a lot of attention. Our last podcast, of course, we had Mr. Wes Germer on the show, and had a great time talking to him, and a lot of people have checked that out. It's been really cool. But we're still growing and continuing. So we want to continue to keep it growing. So if you guys would help that'd be awesome. But anyway, guys, that's going to wrap it up for tonight. So thank you so much for being here. Have a wonderful Monday. I'll be waiting here at the end of your day to bring you some more bedtime stories. So hope you'll be here with me. I guess that's going to wrap it up, though. Thank you guys again. Love you all. Be good, be kind, be nice. Take care of each other. Help each other out. Find the magic in every day, and remember to laugh as much as you can. And I'll be back tomorrow night and the following night and the following night. 7 days a week, 7 p.m. Pacific time. There is a live Paranormal Portal happening right here on YouTube. So come check it out. But we'll see you guys later. Thank you, DJ Big Red. Good to see you. I don't recognize that name, but that's a cool new name. Maybe you've been here before, and if you have, I'm sorry. I'm just looking through the list here quick to see if there's any other new names that have popped up. But most of you guys that are chatting, I think I've seen you all before. But the DJ seemed like a new one to me. But thank you guys again. Thank you, Robert. I appreciate it. It's great that you came in. I appreciate that a bunch. Oh, Rich Moon or Richmon. There's a Richmon in here. Did you see the donation tag? Sorry, just being a pig. All right, guys. So that's going to wrap it up for tonight. But thank you and have a great night. Again, I'll be back tomorrow. We'll see you soon. Sweet dreams.